We're going to talk to Ed Boyd, former Special Advisor at the Department for Work and Pensions, who's been working on reforming welfare. He's now Managing Director of the Centre for Social Justice. Ed, thanks very much for coming in. This is not a debate today about the principle of universal credit. Clearly, it's a debate about how it's being implemented. What, for you, have been the main problems that could have been avoided?
Well, the first thing to say is it's great the principles aren't being debated, because I think everyone agrees around 250,000 people will be in work as a result of this reform. Now, as it's being rolled out, I think it's welcome that the government have made it easier to access the job centres, to access that benefit more easily. I think one of the things that they should look at to improve it, that will help with the implementation, is to take away what's called a 7-day waiting period, which means when you first come on to universal credit, when you get your money, for that first week when you need that safety net of the welfare system, you don't get paid any money for your housing, your heating or your food. And I think it would be good for the government to look at whether taking that away will help people to access a benefit that is proven to work even more effectively.
We've heard today in Parliament again MPs saying, look, we have people waiting 6 weeks, sometimes more, for payment. When this system was devised, was a kind of period of 6 weeks to wait for payment thought to be, acceptable?
Yeah, it was. And let's remember the context for this. When the whole system is rolled out, there will be 8 million people on universal credit, and the overwhelming majority of those people will be in work and just having their wages topped up a little bit by this benefit, which covers people both out of work and in work. And to align getting your benefits with getting your monthly pay packet is the right thing, because we want the world of work to be mirrored by the world of being out of work. So when you're transitioning from one end to the other, it's as seamless as possible. Now, to improve the system at the moment, there's a really important job for job centres to make sure that they are communicating the fixes that are there, that if you can't wait 6 weeks for that first payment, that you get your money in advance. And it's great to hear that David Gauke, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, said if someone comes in and really needs that money, they can get it the same day. There was a huge job for job centres to communicate that to claimants such that no one should be going destitute. If they can get that right, then this system should really start to fly as it's implemented over the next year or so.
But that's been a major failing then, hasn't it? Because really that's the thing that's caused immense suffering to lots of people who've been, talking to us and others, saying that, they're not in the position where they can wait even 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just wondering why in the planning of the implementation, that category of people was not dealt with.
Yeah, and I think, the government are right in terms of they've identified that there was a mistake being made a few months ago. So a lot of the stories that we've heard are from kind of April, May time, where quite frankly, the people on the front line, the work coaches working with the claimants, weren't telling them enough that they could get their benefit advance and get it within 2 weeks or even sooner from when they lost their job or first came on to benefits. If you look at the data now, there's welcome signs that this is being communicated far more widely, such that actually over half of the people who are claiming universal credit for the first time are getting what's called a benefit advance, which basically means they're getting half of their money within 2 weeks, which is tiding them over and making sure that they can pay their bills effectively. And this is something the government needs to watch to make sure people aren't going destitute. It's horrible when you hear the stories when they are, but this safety net should be picking that up. And it's really down to those frontline workers to communicate effectively what's available. And that's a big if really, if government thinks that isn't being done, they could always make those benefit advances such that people get some money within 2 weeks, a default for everyone while the communication is going on. So all of the tools are there for government to do this right, but let's not pretend it's not working already. Every piece of evidence has shown us that as a result of this system, more people are in work and they're earning more money and staying in work longer. This is a big success that we need to make sure that as it's rolled out, some people in the most difficult circumstances don't get left behind, and that should be the government's sole focus over the next few weeks.
There'll be people watching saying, hang on a second, if that's the case, why were people in dire straits being asked to pay 55p a minute or for a helpline for the very benefit that they want to have paid to them?
Yeah, you make a good point, and that's why I said it's welcome that they've scrapped any cost to do with this helpline. I mean, if you want to look at it in detail, it's not that everyone was paying 55p a minute.
Up to
the
55.
overwhelming majority, it was completely free fall. But there was a few, if you're paying on a pay-as-you-go mobile phone with no free minutes, that were paying that amount, and that was wrong. They've scrapped it. It's a good thing. But let's not pretend that everyone was being charged that. There was a little mistake in terms of a few people charging that, and they've got rid of it now. They've identified it, and we welcome that.
Ed Boyd, good to talk to you, and thank you very much for coming in today.
Our pleasure.
Ed Boyd, the former Special Advisor at the Department for Work and Pensions.